Salutations, my name is Mario Ferros. Welcome to Miracle Mile Podcast, Episode 2. If you're joining us for the first time, you haven't missed much. This is our initial startup anyway. Joining us here is John Argueta. Hello, John.
Hey, how are you guys?
We're doing well out here. Took us a little bit to get started because, still getting shaky with things. As you know very well, there can always be technical difficulties with things. As I was, well aware because I had my own contributions with it. You had your own input on livestream, correct?
Yeah, very much so. You yourself helped us out with coordinating it as far as organization and event planning and overall promotion of it as far as doing it the right way. But yeah, we were pretty ambitious when it came to what we were doing because we ourselves, first and foremost, I'm a representative of my own startup label, Prawn Surf, which is very much on some, it's very much in a very DIY development as far as a label goes. Just I feel like most people can relate to nowadays as far as I say 26-year-old or whatever starting up their own label. There's a lot of in and outs when it comes to figuring it out.
Word. Could you just for anyone who's listening who has no recollection or any, let's say, perspective on that, could you explain to us what Prawn Surf is to you?
So the name itself is actually something that I've had a few questions about it, but the few questions I've had about it have intrigued me the most because there's an intention behind the name Prawn Surf, specifically prawn. So the person that I started this label with is somebody that I very much respect in every aspect as far as musically and creatively, and somebody that is involved in the industry in his own respect. Andrew Poland, he was the one that presented the term prawn in a way where prawn is I forget how to say the term.
It's like a sea creature, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like a station or something. Crabs fall under this category of crustacean or
crustacean or
It's
at all shellfish, if anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the ones that have that exoskeleton that are very similar, right? So prawn are actually a little different from shrimp in the sense that they have extended limbs, but also the main reason that
identified by that.
Yeah, the main reason why Andrew presented prawn in the first place is because of the fact that I was presenting an intention with the idea of the label that had to do with a communal thing, where it was the only reason I had the concept of starting a label was to make it communal in the first place, where I had the foundation to do my own thing and market my own thing, but it also encompassed everything I was trying to do outside of that.
Yeah.
I'm a musician that wants to work on my own stuff and also wants to work with other people. I'm inspired by people that do that,
of course,
that have done that. So because of that, I wanted to lay out a foundation that was solid for every aspect of that intention.
Okay.
And a label is the perfect thing.
And I know you guys are more or less at the initialization of that, but around when did you start identifying as, and when did that really start off for you?
For both of us?
Yeah, when was the name something that you guys decided to go by, and when did it actually start becoming?
When he presented the name as something that resonated with that intention.
Okay, time-wise.
Which is what I was which is what I was gonna elaborate on right now. Shrimp, prawn in general, shrimp, they're kind of correlated. There's that's what I kind of like about the term too. Is most people could confuse a prawn with a shrimp.
Okay.
So there's kind of that whole, for lack of a better term, punk rock thing to it, where it's oh yeah, it's just a shrimp, but it's not that. It's a prawn. So if you see it at face value, it looks like shit, but it's not. The reason he presented the prawn is because he was okay, what you're trying to do here is an individual thing that is part of a communal aspect, where individuals help each other, artists, this, that, and third. That's how a label works. That's how a prawn community works.
So it's like an embodying based off of like a let's call it an organism's way of being.
Yeah, exactly, and
Yeah.
they kick ass actually.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
if you look into like a lot of different species of prawn, especially the I think it's called a praying mantis prawn, they like fight each other hard fucking core. They have like claws kind of like lobsters, and they fight each other hardcore, but they don't fight each other in a way that where they kill each other. Like they never fight each other. Like let's say they're fighting for the sake of like winning over a female. They never kill each other for the sake of not killing their species. Like it's like a higher level of thinking.
That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's what
inspired the whole.
Yeah, like at first, like when he presented it, I was like, I don't know
about prawn dog. Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, but that's so underdog though. You know,
yeah.
It's like, who the fuck rocks a shrimp right now? You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, I've
or like a prawn rather, because like that's what it is. But,
yeah.
You know, people associate with that, and like, especially with regards to like our inception and whatnot and our beginnings, I would love for people to feel like we're just like some
prawn
weak ass shit, you know, like for them to be surprised, you know, like because you be like what he was trying to say, Drew with Andrew rather, with presenting that as our symbol was that they work as a strong unit together.
I see.
They're weak as a single.
Yeah.
But they work as a strong unit.
It's like the best way of being independent or startup.
Yeah, exactly. Like this whole label thing had nothing to do with me as much as it had to do with satisfying my intentions as a creative.
Yeah,
you know? It was more like, okay, if I'm trying to work with other people, I want to set the foundation for them too. Yeah, you know, like not just musicians, but also artists, also people like you, like. Hey, like we're shouting out an event coordinator, you know. We're shouting out a graphic designer.
It's perfect for networking, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Like music for me, especially when I really started to dive into it, was never just about music. Like, unless you're playing in your living room and you write songs you never share with the world, which I've met people like that.
Yeah, of course,
and I totally respect them. Music and art, for the most part, is a sharing experience. You want to share it. So
expression.
Yeah. So it's always about the team, you know. There's no album without the photographer. There's no album without the
graphic designer.
All those things meet up in such a perfect way. Like for example, like fucking Transformer by Lou Reed, right? Like that fucking album cover was taken during a performance. That was unintentional, but like Lou Reed was like. And both of them were actually, it wasn't like not even like a fucking from what I have observed, like it wasn't
intentionally.
It wasn't like a split decision between both of them.
It just kind of was like
the photographer and the creative were like, come on, that's the one.
No,
you know?
it was more like the performer was doing their thing, and the photographers saw that instance and did their thing.
That for me is my drive, like creating a foundation for those experiences to happen. Where like
I'm similar to that.
Yeah, where it's like, okay, like my intention is music. That's my focus, and you know the label is for, you know, grounding that in a way where like we could, you know, make
do
the
it in some kind of professional independent way, of course.
But everything counts, man. Like when you're fucking recording the music video and like you're like either playing your song live on it or not, like it's like you're encompassing the vision you have.
I feel you. No, I really deeply relate to that sentiment because like a lot of people assume that like, especially people that knew me like from college and stuff like that, because I was a wild motherfucker in Rutgers. That
I mean, dude, like there's like a lot of hidden stories with a lot of people that we look up to that they don't talk about it, but they have their stories too.
No, but essentially, there's this misconception that like if you want to be like an event coordinator or like a quote unquote promoter, or like let's say you're not official with the name, or you just do parties and have clout and stuff like that, like a few friends that I have out in this area. That it's because you just like partying. It's because you just like having a stupid time, and it's just because you like fame or something.
There's
like
that misconception.
Like ego conception.
Yeah.
But honestly, like if I could do what I do and like
create that experience.
Yeah, like I just like the fact that at the end of the day, I'll see people that didn't know each other beforehand, and they're now interacting, and like they maybe exchange information. Maybe they like have a certain aha like light bulb moment where they think they realize that they can do something together. Like I don't even take credit for it. Like I'm never gonna wave that over the head. Like I made this happen.
Is that satisfying to you though? Like,
I'm just happy that I can be a contribution to someone else doing something for themselves.
Is that like by satisfying, I mean like wholesomely satisfying.
Yeah,
too?
yeah, like
right?
that's the
like,
purpose.
Yeah,
I mean, it's also helpful that
cool.
I get to get like drunk and like have fun and like
course.
laugh and listen to.
That's
some
like the
party
plus,
and
though.
like,
You know, like
yeah, that's why I enjoyed doing events and all that. But my main focus was always that I always saw that people like always yearned to like make connections, whether it was like as meaningless as, you know, just wanting to hang out but not having the courage to hang out, or, you know, being an artist but not knowing who to collaborate with. And even from like the get-go when I was like 18 and partying,
No, even
I
some people
always
that
saw
like
that.
are like serious like artists can go to a party and like make connections they didn't
No,
realize
yeah.
otherwise.
No, yeah. But what I'm saying is that like I always saw that there was a lot of like a general consensus that people wanted to interact with other people, or maybe wanted to like, you know, come out of their shell, but no one ever put like the step forward to do it. It was just kind of like if it ever came upon their life, like if someone invited you, then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go to this function, or I'll go to this wave, or I'll go to this house, and then I'll meet some certain people. And I got really quickly over like just letting things happen, and was like, you know what, no, if no one's gonna do it, then I'm gonna do it. And at first it was just, you know, Rutgers, like just having fun, no reason, no return on investment, like I was just kind of like having fun, spending money, and it was a raw version of that. But then eventually, like once I started realizing that it wasn't just that I was at Rutgers because I graduated at some point, and that I actually wanted to do these things like for the sake of doing them, that's when event coordination became like what you're saying, where it's like for your purposes, where you like to have that dynamic created, where like all the parts of like collaborating and cooperating with each other naturally flow together. That's the same way that I feel about events. And unfortunately, we're not in the climate for that right now. But I feel like there's always ways of collaborating with people.
I think there's ways of expressing it regardless of whether or not we're in a climate that involves
the social fun.
Yeah,
gathering.
like 5+ or more type people. You know, like I don't think so. Especially at this point, I don't think being social is limited to.
Of course not. Yeah, of course not. It's just. I feel like
it's a matter of respecting the intention that you're speaking of.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I just feel like the.
No, because I personally do too. I could bounce that back at that night and the professional manner you've done it, but like anytime, like say I've thrown a party, I'm very selective with the people I invite.
Oh, yeah.
Not only because of the fact that I want to be comfortable with not having to, you know,
deal with someone who you might consider problematic.
But then also like I know everybody's gonna make friends.
Yeah,
you know,
valid.
So like I understand that intention where it's like I'm good at that.
Yeah,
and I that's one of the few things in this life that, you know, I'll go to the grave priding myself on.
Yeah,
because like I've introduced people to people that they've become best friends to this day. You know, and it's like it was based on like I know they're gonna click.
I've made people meet, like not like with like a game plan behind it or anything like that.
It's just like I know
knowing that it would click, and
yeah.
like I've had like I think it's like 2 or 3 at least couples that to this day are together, and it's like I would never ever be like, let's say we got into some kind of like argument, I'd never be like, oh, how dare you, like, I made the connects, bro. I would never come off that way, because that's not the point. But it's very like rewarding for me
the
to
pride,
know that like
exactly.
It's not an egoistic pride. It's like a let's call it like a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a, oh my god, I'm not blanking out here. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like.
Yeah, because I'm describing it as pride only because I actually am very proud of, like, you know, I'm happy to have friends that I could, you know, be confident enough to.
It's like, okay, I got it. It's like I live vicariously through the happiness of the people that connect with each other. But personally, because I'm an event coordinator and like I am associated with like a certain level of imagery, I do not let myself get the pride, because like it's too easy in my opinion when you're put in a place of like imagery to just roll with it and think you're the shit, and like then like start treating people differently and like recognize what you're capable of doing. And I love myself enough to know the limit of loving yourself before it becomes narcissism. So I never let myself cross that boundary. Like it's specific personal reasons. Like for example, like I don't look into astrology because that would only make me fixate more on my character than I already needed. Yes, it's a fucking Leo thing, man. Yes, it is. Yes, sure, I agree. So that being said, I agree with you in the sense that it's a beautiful thing to be able to provide a certain circle, or let's call it a circumstance that allows other people to connect and like have chemistry.
Yeah.
But I personally don't pride myself of it for only the reason that I don't want it to affect the level of peace that and ground that I have.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between pride and just overall feeling fulfilled with something like that.
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
because it is very fulfilling to like, you know, just I mean, it makes me happy to see the people that make me happy make other people happy the way they make me happy.
For sure.
You know? It's like, dude, come on, like you guys are totally gonna click. You know,
yeah,
like
I love that.
it's awesome, you know, and it just makes the movement go forward as far as like, let's say we all have I mean, I find myself in a place where I'm a creative. I'm not just like a casual bypasser consumer. Not this. Not
anything
there's
wrong
anything
with
wrong with it. Yeah,
like the
like,
Seinfeld episode.
yeah, exactly. Like I wish I could be that person where it's like I have a bunch of friends and we're just like, yo, look at all these people doing this crazy shit. It's so awesome.
I mean, there's something nice about being a consumer or a witness to things as well.
Yeah.
I never like talk down on that because like
no, not at all, man.
I personally
they are the truth, man. Like
I mean, in my own
they know
way,
the truth.
in my own way. Although I also implement myself into someone who makes things happen. I am a very big media consumer. Like I pay attention to a lot of different kinds of art.
It's crazy that you say
you do as well.
No, I was crazy that you say that
says
because
so.
by all means, and I embrace that aspect of myself. It's a fanatic aspect of myself. As much as the musicians don't want to admit it, they only admit it later on when they have enough money to admit it. Sometimes where they're just like, yeah, that like I used to just like spend so much time like dancing to that dude's records and emulating them. Like they only admit that later on sometimes, you know, or something like that. But regardless, it's like we all idolize, you know, that's the reason we have the drive, you know.
Of course.
But there's a difference between being a fanatic and being an active person.
Of course, no, I feel you.
Yeah.
I'd like to switch off the topic just because I want to get on the topic of what, like, you know, like since this is the Miracle Man podcast talking about locality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'd want to ask you this because I feel like we've spoken enough about like artistry to go on for hours. But I want to know what to you there is a connection between like where you came from, this environment, and how it influenced you as an artist into becoming who you are as an artist. Is there like a relationship for you, or do you think like that your creations were independent of that, or do you see yourself inspired by the things you've gone through here?
Here. Yeah, I mean, as far as I grew up here my whole life. It's a mix of both, if anything, because personally, I come from a family that my mother's half, they're business owners in the town that we're from. They own restaurants and bars here.
Okay.
And they also like in their own way are very like established here as far as like, you know, being related to others. So like for me, a lot of my communal drive comes from them because like of the fact that their success has not just come from being business people but being like, wholesome,
actively connected with the community.
Yeah, okay. Very much so. In a way where like and not to disclose too much information about.
Of course, it's your family.
Yeah. They've helped people in ways that other people can't.
Okay, that's awesome.
And in ways that maybe the system can't, and. That's never come from a place of like, oh, you're gonna pay me back because it's a business. It's just based on like, okay, like our intention is to be a communal business. I've helped my grandmother in her own restaurant establish a new system. There have been times where she's like, dude, we're gonna charge tax. And I'm like, yeah, grandma, like, I mean, like, you know, like, and then she's like, but there are some people that, you know,
can't afford tax.
Yeah, and it's like I see where she's coming from, where like she's talking about certain clients that it's about the personal relation, and that's
something that you do.
Yeah, that's something that for me, like as somebody that comes from a genuine place like that, as far as a family goes, has very much translated into my art.
Okay.
Art to me is life as much as
it replicates.
Yeah. So for me, like I don't know, it just connects with just being as wholesome of a person as you could possibly be.
Okay.
You know, it's always been the drive that has helped me to exert my best potential as a human being.
Cool.
And it's something that has actually helped me recognize where I come from.
I get that, yeah.
Like, it's funny because, like, I feel like people don't find that in life. Like, they don't recognize how blessed they are with their family. But like music kind of helped me with that. Like music was like, oh shit, I come from like a really good place where people take their shit seriously.
Yeah, I'm glad you have that relationship. Personally, although I'm an artist. I tend to not really like toot my own horn too often because I have my own.
Great artist, by the way.
I appreciate that. I tend to like just keep it to myself until I feel like I'm ready to like establish a gallery of my own. But essentially, my relationship.
Yeah, marketing and sharing it is hard.
Yeah,
not even marketing, sharing.
Yeah, for certain. But anyway, my relationship with art comes from a place where I also, I guess I could say that my environment inspired me. However, it's not as a clear indicator as much as it's the feelings that I get out of my surroundings. So like the way that I work with my art is if I feel something, like let's say I'm going through some kind of emotion, it tends to be because of like the situations that I find myself in through life, and I tend to project them onto paper so that I release them as I draw them. And it can take, hours, it could take days, however long it may take for that emotion to be like exerted into the paper. And then once it's on paper and like I've completed it, I have like this release of catharsis of that emotion. So like if I like experience heartbreak, or if I experience anger, or if I experience whatever it is that I experience, I have a relationship where it comes from the external world that I live by, like the things that influence my daily living, the things that I like, suffer or bask the enjoyment of. And then I release them onto paper so that I can observe those feelings without being stuck in them. I feel like a lot of the time people have like this relationship with their art where it either reciprocates the feeling and like keeps them in a cycle, or they kind of just like touch things on the surface. I like just like I let it all bleed on one page and then go on.
So to finish on what I was saying with my family, even though like they're like a reflection of what. Like my roots help me bounce back a discipline to my craft.
Word, that's nice.
Which is great, like especially since there's a lot of I don't want to say unhealthy discouragement from my family, but I feel like if your kid's an artist and you got like 5 restaurants that you own,
there's a disparity between what is productive.
That's a good parent saying like, hey, what the fuck are you doing?
It's a parent that I've had my own similar relationship with my parents in the regard when I first was mainly an artist. It's this idea that they understand the world is one way, and they wish the best for you in the regards of fitting into that way. Yeah. So even though they appreciate the things you may pay attention to and how well you do those things, there's always going to be a part of the parent who had to suffer to get where they got to that will urge you to do something in that.
That being said, though, as much as they're as much as I honor my roots, as much as that their being themselves has bounced back into my craft. My craft is not my craft and my passion because of them. It's because of me,
of course, it's still an independent.
And art is something that has nothing to do with circumstances. As far as where the fuck you're from, art is
it's universal.
Art knows no language. Art knows no race.
Of course, I just wanted to know because of course, art comes from so many different fields.
I just want to say that though because I feel like that's the main thing that if anything that really pushes me forward, that non-relation that I have with them.
Of course.
They're not artists. They're not artists at all. I'm the first artist, if anything, in my family.
Go figure.
There are the guitarists, but guitarist is you could learn scales.
But they're not like involved or identify.
They're not trying to compose.
It.
They're trying to really encompass an artistic intention.
I feel you.
So that being said, that's something that it kind of like counters my roots, but in a way where it's kind of really healthy for me. Because like that discipline that they I come from an El Salvadoran background. And not to go thorough on that, but El Salvadorans are some of the fucking hardest workers on this planet, as much as they are the source of the most violent gang on the planet as well.
Hey, they work hard too in their own way.
Exactly. They consider that a country shame, but so
that's where you come from.
Yeah, it's I get to ponerte las pilas. You fucking work hard. If you're gonna do something, do it.
Do it right.
Don't be a little. Don't be a little whatever. Don't be a half-ass motherfucker. There's no room for laziness in my in my family.
I feel that.
You know?
It probably would show in your craft and in your art. And
yeah, exactly. And it's actually very much influenced that, you know? But in a way where, like, they can't relate to it because they don't see that translating in the way that they identify with, you know?
Which is a monetary or productive means that
exactly.
measured by standards.
Like,
I'd like to get back into the focus of the live stream that you had, because prior to, you know, having the mics on and actually trying to shoot this podcast for once, we were talking about technical difficulties, and we're talking about, like, the necessity to, like, you know, within the first few attempts, like, to have to embrace, like, what you consider to be a failure, or rather a
Denzel Washington once said.
Give me that quote again. Please.
Yeah, Denzel Washington once said. I believe he was addressing Columbia University. I don't know. Yeah. Either way, whoever's listening to this podcast ought to look up Denzel Washington addressing in college. Just look up that on YouTube, and it'll probably be saved on one of your, like, motivational things on your YouTube playlist or whatever. But it's great because one of the things he says is, if you're gonna fucking do something and you're gonna fail big. Like, fail as fucking big as you possibly could. Just fail so hard, you know, like, because, like, fuck, like, it's way better than not fucking trying, you know, like, not trying is, like, I personally can't relate to that state of mind of not trying. I've always identified with, and not just identified with, but I've always been the person that just did the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the fact that I can't identify with, like, not doing it, I could only imagine how depressing that is, because the reason I didn't submit to, okay, what if I fail, and, like, okay, I'm just gonna stay here, maybe do the safe route, I would have been so fucking sad. I knew that for a fact. So for me, it was, like, a way better option to, like,
experience the failure even if it didn't reap the benefit that you expected.
Yeah, and not only that, once you get into it, once you get into the reality of what you're trying to do, you realize that failure is actually a very healthy option sometimes.
Yeah,
you know?
and
it helps you learn.
And a lot of the times, what we might consider a failure isn't even actually really a failure. It's just maybe like you can have a picture of, like, the best case scenario.
Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin once said, when, you know, sometimes we had a bad mixer in a show, you know, it wasn't the best nights, but when we had good nights with the sound, we had better nights than any other band, you know. But at the same time, he's also considering the nights where it wasn't good, and
of course it comes with it. Yeah, we're
talking about the greatest rock band in the world. It's like,
yeah,
bro, like, they have their bad nights too, you know. It's a part of the fucking process, you know. Like people, especially when they kind of, like, look up to artists in a way where they don't, like, factor in their world and their craft and what it takes. Like,
they either idealize the how they got there, or they'll quickly judge and assume based off one off-put situation that they suck entirely.
I feel like there's this, like, safe assumption that, like, oh, that dude came out of nowhere. It's like, no, he didn't come out of nowhere. He actually, he probably worked so hard for a fucking marketing team.
Probably lost, like, 20 times. Probably got gypped a couple of money.
Yeah, probably released so many EPs you never heard, and you never will hear unless you're a real fan.
Projects. Probably woke up in the bathtub crying about his life. You know, like, I feel like there's so many, like, losses, and, like, I feel like until you get to the point where you try something, even if it's, like, opening up a nail salon, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a craft or art. It's like there has to come a point where your expectations have to be like squandered or crushed, so that you can accept what it takes to get to a better place. And not only that, like, ground yourself, because it's natural.
Yes. What is essential, though, since we're having this conversation with anybody listening that has an intention like that, is that even though that is something you have to consider, never ever forget to, like, listen to your heart. Like, if it's not right, it's not right, you know. Like,
of course.
For me, like, when I was making mistakes, I knew I was making mistakes with the live stream live. Like, I had somebody there telling me, yeah, it's not being seen on Twitch, but it's working great on Facebook, and they were seeing every aspect of. They were looking at Instagram. They were like, oh, Instagram is lagging now. But because of the fact that during the process I was not disturbed by the fact that, one, the performance is great, and two, the mistakes were things that were not so much like things that
end of all things.
Yeah, not at all. Like, you can't expect anything to be perfect at first, and if you're looking for that at first, you're looking for a downfall. Do not be too hard on yourself, man. You have to have fun, you know, like, first and foremost, and look at your mistakes as a growing process, because nobody ever fucking does anything the way that they fully envision
the first time or even the first few times. Honestly,
Prince. It took Prince 7 albums to make Purple Rain, bro.
Ooh.
Like y'all never even heard the first few albums. So like
Yeah, no. I definitely learned that lesson in my own regard because when I first started doing events, I remember like it was really funny to analyze it this way because I had been like, I wasn't an event coordinator when I was in college. I was just some kid who was partying.
It's just something that you just naturally.
Yeah. So I was just some kid who was partying a little too hard, and like it became natural for people to hit me up every Saturday, be like, "Yo, what we doing?"
Guy that kind of.
Yeah.
He seems well put together.
Yeah, like, yo, what we doing this Saturday? And like sometimes it'd be funny because I wouldn't be doing anything. I'd be reading a book, and I'm like, I heard this guy's doing something. So
Yeah.
But then eventually I saw enough moments in my life that told me, hey, this is probably a good path to give it a shot. And then when I tried exercising it into a career, well, it was naturally done. Like, let's say I'm bored, it's Friday, I'm going to post on Instagram that I'm doing some shit, and like 20 people will hang out with me. Well, what happened naturally, suddenly, when I tried making it a actual discipline, started failing. And I remember the first time that happened to me, like, it was like a weird ego shatter that I wasn't sure how to deal with the first time. I was like I remember it was actually an event that I worked with Rich here. It was an event that we had with a former client. It was at a restaurant, and it was an all-you-can-eat event. Yeah. And like we had I remember I booked 3 or 4 artists, right? One person like bailed out, the other person never showed up, and then only 2 performers made it there. Not only that, they had only the people that we teamed up with, the people that we were there, like it was like me, like maybe a photographer or whatever. The people that were the cast and crew were there, and maybe like just a few sprinkled like extras watching this shit. And I remember like although I loved the moment because I liked seeing the performances happen and the food was great, like it was so weird to me to be able to like think that was something that I did so naturally for 4 years of college, and then try doing it like in like a professional light, and it's just like such a swing and a miss. And I remember like it ate me alive as I was going through it. I was like, yeah, this is natural. I was like, yeah, this is natural. This is totally fine. It's cold out. Like we're at a buffet. Like the price is pretty big. These are the reasons why. I'm just trying to like rationalize and like have peace with it. But in the inside, the ego part of me that had an image of how I wanted to exert myself was like, what's going on? Like, I could literally say, let's go get some alcohol in us, and beforehand it would always work, and this time it didn't. And that was an important path for me to take, because it was, as we were discussing, the lesson necessary, which is that there's always going to be like failures before successes, and like moments that gratify what we go through. And that was like the first time that like it was undeniably flopping for me, and I was like, I had to grow out of it. So it's part of the process, and it's definitely a necessity. Honestly though, from the little instances that I did chime into your live stream, it didn't look that much of like something I would consider a flop. I feel like it was very aesthetically well put together. It was the only thing that's the main reason why like you don't feel the way like negatively. It's nice.
It worked on one platform at least, and we could at the very least in post refer people to it.
Do you have the footage by any chance?
Yeah, it's on Facebook. It's on our Facebook. Just look up Prawn Surf without any spaces. That's our on our page.
You should definitely like download that video footage. I'm sure you already do.
Yeah, we already have it. Yeah,
you should post that on like anything. Like
we very much intend to like from this point forward. Like we were doing some pretty ambitious things when it came to streaming on multiple platforms.
Okay.
We've pretty much made the wise decision to not like stream on Instagram. Because it's more of like a promotional platform right now than it is like a live streaming platform.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna just stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch at this point.
Yeah.
And all those things are gonna work seamlessly compared to the setup we had before.
Word.
So everything is gonna work great. I mean, that was the main thing though. Like we're just trying to do some extra stuff, ambitious stuff, which I was also kind of proud of too. Like it worked for like 5 seconds, like. And then it kind of went to shit.
I felt so bad because like
No,
when
yeah, you told me like
when
you're
that was
like,
happening, I remember I was doing my own things.
I'm glad that you said people were like trying to tune into it though.
Because like and I know that like you don't see it this way, but the way I saw it was
I still do though. Like for any of those people that like coordinate with you, that network with you in a way that I don't, you could still catch the stream on Facebook. I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties, but on Facebook on Prawn Surf, you could just catch it there. It's in full. And
you should my opinion. You know how you can like put like reels on Instagram, like there's like if you
we plan on doing.
You should do that, and when you do that, let me know. I'll like spam the hell out of it.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Because like I will be frank with you that I didn't sit through it for like a good like 10 minutes straight because I was literally doing things.
Yeah.
But I was tuning in as much as I could because I was interested in what I was sending people towards, and like I love so much the actual aesthetic and
everybody is
going
like
on.
I've had those perspectives too where like people tuned in as much as they could and they were like, yo, any second that I tuned into it,
it just felt rewarding. Like I feel like I like to measure live streams in a certain degree, and it's we live in a very short span society. Like attention span is like so short.
Like 1.5 seconds. I think
it's so like you can just be scrolling through something, think it's important, and then just pass it, and boom, I don't know, you forgot it, and like it's out of your memory until someone else reminds you of it.
No, shout out to Marco Sanchez, by the way, for making the whole video aspect of it like a lot more aesthetically pleasing. That was all based on experimentation too. Like it's. Yeah, it was just like let's try out a few things here. Let's like make it on some like Adult Swim shit or something.
It worked. Yeah. I feel like it was able to. I have this, so like sometimes I will sit through a live stream if like let's say I'm like washing dishes and I happen to catch someone's live stream at the same time. But on general average, I'm not always as invested in some things. For example, like, let's say just a rapper friend is just on Instagram live and is like, yo, I'm drinking a bottle, and like everyone's like just kind of getting on. They're like, yo, it's good, but that's it. I like to hop on just to see how worthy of like a live stream idea it has, and like the moment I clicked on
a lot of people don't know how to use live streams unless they're using.
Regardless,
like the people that do know how to use live streams are not using them on like platforms
Instagram.
As typical. Of
course,
Instagram.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more of like I feel like on Instagram it's more of like a let your friends know what you're doing type of thing.
It's a picture thing first and foremost, I think. That's what I feel like people forget sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I personally am one of them. Like I was like all about like, hey, IGTV videos. That's how like a lot of drummers or guitarists get popping just based on a 15-second video that displays their stuff. But at the same time, that's based on like a attention span promotion.
Oh no, I for certain. And the way
it's
I
not
see
like
it,
live stream.
The way I see it is that like they both can have their own equal or rather their own subjective potentials. I just think that like Twitch and Facebook are more better for like actual broadcasting purposes. Mm-hmm. While I feel like Instagram is more based on like a follower base as is. So it's like if you had a heavier following, it would have a more bigger consistency, as opposed to Instagram when you're a consumer level figure. It would just mean like any one of your friends who is interested will log on, as opposed to I feel like Twitch and Facebook is more universal and more so that was the difference.
No, very much so. That's a big reason why we're moving forward with those other platforms, because it resonates more with our intention of expanding in an organic way, of course. Like there could be somebody that like is from Germany that really likes ambient stuff, and we do a lot of that, or like rock and roll, psychedelic rock and roll, and like they tune into it from like a whole other place in the world, and like that's
I like this.
And that's it behooves a label to get that type of fucking networking. Yeah, exactly.
I have a question for you. I feel like it is important to a lot of people to recognize when their environment or their peers in their environment hold some kind of either influence or respect in the similar crafts. Is there anyone that comes to mind in like local artistry that you would consider to be either an inspiration or someone that you like value for their creations?
I would say I consider them my studio neighbors, because that's kind of like what they are to me as first and foremost. But heads in the industry that are very much in their own regard respectable Max Feinstein. I think that's how you say his name. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, Max. But amazing guitarist. He has done everything that I want to do. As far as like setting up a studio where you could just do your fucking thing and just record, and somebody that I resonate with as somebody that is just concerned with the creative, not with all the other things that may come with
superficial stuff. Like
and it's very easy to, especially as a instrumental musician, to get, when you're trying to promote yourself, get way too caught up in that, where like you forget about your craft. This is a man that his craft is his
main consensus.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
And then Eddie Leeway, who I don't have as much of a personal relationship with, but is legend in the punk rock scene.
Nice.
Somebody who is always like, when it comes to people who are older than you, like whether or not you may know something that they don't, always tip your hat, always bow your head, because even if there's somebody that's like older than you that's homeless, bow your head, because they've been on this planet longer than you have.
So they've had a fair share of stories that I'm sure they can share.
He's somebody that has always been real about all that stuff when it comes to me being welcomed into the place where I create right now. And as he's gotten to know us very, without breaking character, still retain that. Just being like, okay, your intentions are to be independent, your intentions are to be this and that. This is how you do it. Don't fucking get caught up in the ego bullshit. And there's gonna be a lot of motherfuckers, snakes, that want to get you.
I learned that the hard way this year, honestly.
He comes from a lot of those scars too. And not in a bad way where it's like the way he carries it is like pessimistic. It's like it's real.
It happens.
People fucking suck.
Yeah, no, I learned that the hard way. I honestly used to like carry myself differently. I used to carry myself differently before 2020 came and went, where I was still treating people the way I treated people when I was like 20 years old and had 20 bucks in my wallet. As I started like doing better with events and like being more respected or I guess appreciated for the things I did, I started recognizing that like it felt like I had like I always say this, I felt like I had like a $500 bill like stapled to my forehead, and people were just waiting for me to blink to just rip it off my forehead. And as life goes, when people are giving opportunities where they can take advantage of things or their egos conflict with yours, like I feel like it's much easier to see those like lines get crossed. And I agree with that sentiment where it's like when you are trying to create something, when you put yourself out there, you're gonna meet a lot of good people and a lot of networking. I
shouted him out because it never faltered his intention. It's like the snakes are always gonna be there. Yeah,
that's exactly the end consensus. Yeah,
stay above the leeches.
And stay above the leeches. I personally, I had a weird dynamic with it all because as much as I know that people have like their own like losses and their own like negativities, I never and I mean this, like I never had any major conflicts in my life until like the end of 2019 to like most of 2020. So it's like
direct conflicts.
Like I've never had conflicts. I don't know what like lucky star I was like guided by.
Like what do you mean by conflicts? Like direct conflicts with people where like there's like a thing you have to work through with somebody. Like very thoroughly where there's communication and or there's like say, we need to really understand.
Or like let's say any kind of conflict in general. Like I mean, obviously, conflict is natural.
That's what I'm saying. You can
have a problem with like a best friend like that over.
But it's like
I'm talking about like a line being crossed. That makes like even like if you respected the person back then, you have to stay away because like those are people that aren't beneficial to your livelihood. Like maybe let's say, I can't get into specifics because we're on a podcast.
Oh no, I mean I've gone through that too.
But essentially like there's always people along the lines that will take advantage of your like kindness and your trust, and like manipulate it for within a business circle or within like a maybe monetary circle or maybe a trust circle where they take advantage of things like that. Because sometimes when people recognize a worth that the person doesn't like defend, I feel like that makes people want to like reach out and take that. And I had to learn the hard way to be a little bit more defensive because I always wanted to practice.
You gotta put your foot on the ground though.
Yeah. I always wanted to like by like by virtue practice openness and trustworthiness, because I felt like there wasn't enough of that in this world, so I always wanted to like provide that in the sense in the rather the hope that would lead a good example for others, but that's not always an iron.
No, but see, the virtue I feel that is carried with something like that is that the love should not ever be lost. As a matter of fact, the love should be a driving force for you defending yourself. It's like, course, yeah. If this does not resonate with love, or the love that I have for this, or by love I mean like the wholesome intent behind what you're trying to do. Like if that does not resonate with it, then it is a loving action for you to be like, fuck you. I mean, it's loving yourself. It's loving your craft and all that.
It took me a while to get that, because for a long time I was someone who like I cared a lot for people, and when I was put in situations where like there'd be a major conflict, I would still find myself caring enough to try and like mend the situation in a place where that person. But sometimes people aren't even trying to get that. Sometimes people are either like so caught up in the situation that they just don't want anything to do with you, or sometimes you have to learn the hard way that those people don't deserve your kindness. And it's like, as much as I wish that I could like always like provide the kindest version of myself, there are moments in life where like, especially in professional lights, where people are willing to like just like take advantage of things that you are a part of. For
sure. No, I personally I very much resonate with that. Because I would rather very much relax and be like, yo, let's all just make art, you know.
But not everyone's. No,
exactly. Like you have to like learn if you're trying to share stuff and you're trying to be in this type of field, to learn how to stick the right type of middle finger to people.
Yeah.
You know? And to create healthy boundaries where like you don't lose your love too.
Yeah, because I'm never gonna
like don't get so frustrated by other people that like, you know, like
I've just learned to better apply the kindest components of myself as opposed to just like give it out like it's hot bread and shit. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go and ask you 2 more questions before we should probably start wrapping this up. Yeah. And these 2 questions I feel are very important in the regards of like, you know, talking about our local environment, but also talking about who you are inside our local environment. The first one that I wanted to ask you is, as someone who is, you know, a part of Prawn Surf Records, as you call it, and you know the lifestyle and the philosophy behind like embodying prawns, I wanted to hear your perspective on, like, you know, the local art community, more so the local music community, and you know it's a very given like understanding that there's a lot of music being made right now, but it's all like mostly under wraps. Like there's no one in our age range of like 18 to like maybe 28 or so that is like has a record, like a contract like with some record label, or has like a studio funded album that is like, you know, controlled by like some like corporation. It's very much so that everyone out here is DIY, and any money that they make is either self-motivated, like websites like how some people like Kibohidi's doing, which shout at him because it's a smart one. Sway's doing it as well, but essentially you can tell that there's a very big DIY.
Yes, for sure.
There's a very big
understanding about how to do marketing in a way where it's like, yo, fuck the industry, you know.
So what I'm saying here is, as someone who, you know, the record label comes from that, what's your perspective on what needs to happen for this community to like finally just like burst out into like a more notified scene? Because I feel like it's inevitable. Like if you went back like 5 years ago, like there was way less people doing music than there is now. And like I think that it's only gonna get further and further the more that we're all isolated and the more we're all on our own.
I think, I mean, you just hit the tip there. I think it's just a matter of like learning how to work with each other. That's the main thing, learning how to work with each other. I was initially going to say networking, but that I feel like that encompasses it in a way where like that doesn't involve the type of discerning work you have to do with somebody that in an area like this where, like Mario said, everybody's doing their own thing. Everybody has their own intentions as well.
Yeah.
One must learn how to work those intentions with the people where it's organic. You know, it's not just that like, there's this graphic designer in Union City and like like he's on deck. It's like, no, like just because they're a graphic designer doesn't mean that they might see the vision you have, you know.
Yeah.
So more than anything, I feel like it's great that this area is thriving as far as individual intentions go.
Yeah.
I think the only recipe it needs is people just learning how to network in their own way though. Like it's not just about networking. It's about like, okay, like, what are you trying to do here?
Yeah.
Like I'm personally like trying to do versatile music where it falls under the category of like psychedelic rock, art rock. Some of it is gonna go into avant-garde surrealism. So like,
nice.
you know, like I need people that can understand that. Just because there's some guy that lives like on 24th Street and I live on 2nd Street in New City doesn't mean they're gonna, you know, have the same influence.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, yeah, maybe they could be a great graphic designer. Don't get me wrong, that's
but,
great.
Like, they might not feel the same passion for the vision that
exactly.
you have.
And I feel like, I mean, I can't speak for everyone in Jersey, but I feel like from what I've observed on the outside, Jersey, people in Jersey can kind of get discouraged with working with each other because they don't understand how to translate their own individual intentions to other people.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I feel like that's been the only thing. And I don't... Like I said, this is just coming from a place of observation. I can't speak for
your
everyone.
own experience. It's not like the absolute truth.
But it's I feel like it's important to just understand, like, hey, like, this person, I can work with them, or it seems like I work with them when we talk to them about my intentions, this and that. I feel like just people need to just
put themselves
really,
out there.
really understand and inventory themselves. What am I trying to do here?
Yeah.
Okay, who can I work with? Boom. All right. And at this point, from what I've seen, I feel like people, in every regard, whether they're photographers or otherwise, are really taking matters into their own hands. So now is a really great time to be
I know.
Yo, catch on to that. Yo, like if you don't, like, don't get me wrong, if you don't want to use that photographer right now, you could go to him later for a certain intention too. It's all about, like, just networking in an organic manner.
Yeah,
that's all I feel like this area needs, because it's already there. Like, I know people around here that I consider up there with, like, fucking Iggy Pop and other fucking people.
They're just like still in the woodworks as opposed to exposed.
Not even woodworks. They have their own stuff probably too.
No, I meant that as in like they don't have this anywhere near the same exposure as they
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And that's not even on them so much as just like the networking thing. You know, it's just like some artists don't want to deal with fucking marketing and shit like that. And it's hard for people to market.
Yeah, everyone has their own relationship with their craft and all that.
Yeah.
I want to add a little bit to that, but then I want to go to the final question. But anyway, I think that those are all excessively important points to everything. But I think that another component is it comes with the fact that our generation is developing this sense of identity with the music and crafting, right? And I think that it's coming from a place where artistry is slowly starting to be revitalized in our generations, in our society. I feel like we came from a majority of our society, or this community of North Hudson in general, comes from sons and daughters of immigrants who are put in this place and feel the need to have to empower themselves and fiscally grow. And I feel like as we start becoming more, I don't want to use the term Americanized, but more so like we aren't trying just black and white survive. We have our own sense of existence in this place now. We can call it home to some degree. So we have a little better connectivity with the pop culture than if you were a fresh immigrant who is new to everything and just kind of trying to establish something. I feel like, although for example, my parents are fresh immigrants in their own way when I was born out here. Regardless, I feel like what needs to happen is that there needs to be a better and deeper immersion, and I think that's going to happen with time. I feel like for example, the people that you and I know of our age range, when we're 30, 35, 40, I really, really doubt that we're all just going to become very dry and boring humans and just not invest and fund art. I don't know about you. I don't know what you're going to do with your money when you're 30 or 40, but I cannot.
The only thing I plan on doing when I can't tour anymore is continue to produce.
Exactly. And the thing is, I just personally can't imagine myself being 35, 40, and not being at least well funded. Not at least well funded.
Yeah. And
B, not putting most of those funds into things that would benefit the artistry of this community. So I think it's just the fact that up until now, the things that are funded in this community, like Bergen Line, the shopping districts, all that, is monetary structures that help feed their families. And that's valid. That's awesome. It's part of Latino heritage to benefit and purposefully work for the family. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that there's a generation of us that are now more artistically involved with like our creative sides, and I think that all it's gonna take is for us to grow up. And I think like as you can see that we're all starting to do things as opposed to just listening to it all the time and be consumers of media. I think it's only a matter of time until the people that you see on SoundCloud rapping are gonna own property, like maybe a bar one day, and there you go. That's an outlet for someone to let kids or rappers perform and stuff like that. I think it's a matter of time. I have one final question for you, and it's more of like a dismissal sort of thing. So because this is a podcast that likes to shed light on topics and also give promotion to things. As we already spoken about your live stream, and since that was your debut, I was wondering if you had anything you'd want to say to anyone that's listening, anyone who might be piqued, they just might be piqued about what you guys are maybe planning on doing in the future. If there's anything in the woodwork, is there anything that you want to concentrate on?
Definitely more live streams as far as sharing the content that we already have ready in store for you guys. But also continuing to, in any organic step we could, translating our vision to people. Like, that to me is like the most important thing beyond anything, because labels are here and there, and they mean different things to different people, but the intention is something that counts for me. So, and the intention with Prawn Surf is all about art, and that's the drive for every single decision, business or otherwise.
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
So that being said, that's pretty much it. I can't confidently say anything else because we're just, like you said, still in the woodworks.
Awesome.
Or what's that term? Still in the woodworks.
I mean,
but it's a beautiful process. If you're trying to manifest anything, just do it. But just keep that love in your heart. That's it.
Honestly, I'm just glad to be able to witness the debut, because it's very easy to like catch an artist or a rapper or a group when they're already well established because you heard of them from that person's party and someone played one of their songs. I like more so catching things when it first starts, even if it comes off as amateurish or comes off as like a diamond in the rough, because like I love being able to like contribute even slightly to like helping that establish itself, whether or not it succeeds or fails. I like being there for that moment.
Yeah, I definitely like that aspect of it too, like the whole like keep them hungry for more type of thing.
For certain.
Yeah.
Okay, so from here on out...
It was really nice talking to you, by the way, Mark.
Alright, well, that about wraps it up. Thank you so much, John, for coming out here at such quick, late notice.
Great talking to you.
It was a great conversation, and hopefully we'll see each other very soon.
For sure.
Thanks all you guys for listening. Say goodbye to everyone, John.
Goodbye, and hope everybody enjoyed it and also caught something from it.
Yeah, for sure.
On a fish hook.
Stay safe.